everybody, this is Christina from Brush and Bristle Studio. Hope you guys are doing well today. Today I'm going to go over how to use the 40-ounce tumbler multi mockup. Before we really dive into this, I'll go ahead and say you want to be using this in either Photoshop or Photopea. I'll explain what Photopea is a little bit later, but for now, just know that this tutorial is going to be split up into two parts. The first part is going to be with Photoshop, and the second part is going to be with Photopea. The Photopea portion is going to be very short because I'm only going to be going over the changes. The two programs are so similar that you're going to be doing all the same things the exact same way, but there's like just a tiny little quirk that we'll be going over with that. But in the first part of this, I'm going to show you how to manually change these, and then I'll show you how to use the action files. Even if you haven't used the action files before, don't worry about it. They're very easy to use, and I make my tutorials as beginner friendly as possible, so you should be able to figure out how to use them by the end of this. And if you still have questions, please feel free to reach out to me. But let's go ahead and dive in. So what you want to do first when you have this open in Photoshop is look for these red tabbed layers. Now, I have some other layers that I will tab in orange, and those are typically filter layers, and I'll go over that when we get to that in a little bit. But for now, you want to find the red tab layers. Now, if you're familiar with my other mockups, you know that you typically only have to double click on one of these, and that's really it. But with how the 40 ounces are set up, you've got your top, your middle, and your bottom. So you're going to have to click on all three of these to change them. But if you change it for one tumbler, it's going to apply it to all three tumblers. And not only that, it's also going to apply it to the second set of tumblers that we have back here on this one. So I'll show you how to do that in just a second. To start, you want to double click on this little thumbnail right here. And we're going to go ahead and double click on all three of these. So they are already open for us. And then we're going to go to File, Open, and navigate to the design that you want to have mocked up. So I'm going to select these three. And I'm going to go to the top file first, and to copy this into that file, you're going to want to first select this image. To do that, you're going to press Control A, or you're going to grab this marquee tool right here, and you're going to drag it and drop it. And once you see the marching ants all around your border, that means you've got everything selected. So once you see that, you can press Control C, or you can go up here to Edit and press Copy. Once that's done, you can close out of this, and you can't see it on here right now. So you go to these two little arrows and click it, and a drop down will come up. And this rectangle 11 is going to be the smart object layer for the top that you want to paste this into. So to paste it, you're going to press Control V. You're going to go up here to Edit, and you're going to press Paste. Now, everyone sizes things a little bit differently. If you need to resize yours, you can press Control T, or go up here to Edit and go Free Transform. And you'll see these little anchor points all around your design. You can click and drag, and it will resize everything for you. Now, I'm pretty sure most things are like automatically set to be like proportionally linked. So if you mess with your left side, it'll resize the top or whatever. If you want to not do things proportionally, like let's say you've got a design like that and you just need to bring it up. Of course, you don't need to drag and drop like that, because then your sides are going to overhang. So to do an unproportional change, you can come up here, and these are your proportions. And it's got this little link box right here. You can unclick that and then drag and drop, and it'll do it. Now, another way to do it, which I think is much faster, is you hold down Shift. So you see it's checked up here, and you hold down shift and you drag and drop, and it does the same thing, and it saves a lot of time. I end up using this feature a lot. So remember that little shortcut. Once you're happy with how it's resized, you can press enter, or you can press this check mark up here. And then you want to save this to update the smart objects. And to do that, you're going to press Control S, or you can go up here to File and Save. And we'll go ahead and take a sneak peek at the mockup. And as you see, we just changed one and it applied it to all three. And as I said earlier, it also does it to the second one. So that should help save a lot of time with trying to do your mockups, because I know a lot of mockups don't have that kind of functionality. You typically would have to go into each smart object. So with this one being a 40 ounce, there are 9 smart objects just in the first mockup, and then there's another 9 in the second mockup. So you would have had to click 18 different smart objects for this multi mockup if it was another mockup shop. But with how I have them set up, you don't have to, you only have to do 3 and that's it. So now we're going to go work on our bottom one real fast. And again, we're going to press Control A and then Control C, and that's going to select all and copy. Close out of that, and then we're going to press Control V. Now, as you can probably see, and if you can't, I'll zoom in, you've got a little white overhang. And that's really important to notice, because if you don't have the design fully covering this, it's not, you're still going to see some of the white. And let's say you hide that white, but if we save this, it's not going to fit the tumbler right. So you've got to make sure that you are sizing this just like that white one is. So we're going to press Control T, or again, go up to Edit and then Free Transform. And we're going to drag this over just a little bit, and I'm going to hold Shift and drag up and keep holding Shift and drag down. And we're going to save. Well, we're going to click that check mark to approve the changes that we just made. Now, before we save and move on, I'm going to hide this really fast. For those of you that have noticed, I've got a red tabbed layer in here. This is for a straight smart object. I've had several of y'all contact me to see if y'all would be able to upload a straight file that could warp in here to Mockup, or that you guys could save. So if you double click this, it'll open up a new document, and this will let you either design your file in here or drop a straight file in here. And once you save this, you close that one and it will automatically warp it in here for you. And you can save this part right here as your warp file, and that's fine. But then once you're ready to mock up, you have to make sure to hit save again to actually update the smart object for the tumbler itself. But that's how you're going to use that. So I'm going to save this really quick to update, and then we're going to go over to this one for the middle. And again, as I said before, this one's nested as well. So you just double click and you can make those changes, save, and then come over here and it will automatically warp it for you. But we are going to copy and then paste in here. And then we're going to hit Control S to save. And then go over here. And as you see, it's on both mockups. So this is already moving kind of quick. But we can make it go even faster by using an action file. So let me delete these really fast so I can show you how to do the actions with these mockups. So if you follow the link and you go to the folder, you're going to see two different action files in here. You've got the 40-ounce multi-mockup action, and this is going to include the top, the middle, and the bottom. Then you've got this action file, and this is going to only do the top and the bottom. So I know there are a lot of designers that don't do a middle, so that one's there for you. If y'all need any other custom actions with stuff, feel free to reach out to me and I can help y'all with this. It's no big deal. But to get this into Photoshop, all you have to do is double click the action and it'll automatically install it in there for you. So now you want to look for your actions panel. Now over here is your panel bar, and you want to look for this plus sign, and this is your actions panel. If you don't see a plus sign on here, you can go up to window, and then there's actions right there. You can also press Alt F9 and that'll pull it up as well. Now your action is going to automatically go to the very bottom of your actions panel, and if you look at it, it's split into two spots. You've got an upload design files and save mockups. I have this split up like this so that way you can upload your designs and then see how it looks, and you can make the changes that you need to make before you actually go in and save it. I have several different things in here that you can change. You know, they offer a lot of different color choices and handles and lids. So I have it set up where you can make those changes, and I'll get to that in a minute. But that's why I have it set up the way that I do. So that way you can take a minute and pause and make those little changes before you continue on to save. So let's go ahead and go to upload design files, and you don't have to collapse it, but it will automatically collapse in a second. But once you select that layer right there, you press play, and it's opened up your top layer first. So just double click your design that you want to put in there, and as you see, it's copied, pasted, and set to free transform for you. And once you're happy with how that's sized in there, you press that check mark, or you can press enter. Save changes to the Adobe Photoshop document. Yes. Now it's opening up your bottom, and it's going to put it in there. And just like we saw before, we need to resize this one just a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And once you're happy with it, press your check mark. Yes, you want to save. I don't know why that error is there. Just ignore it. Press OK and move on. Upload that, and that is sized right. So we're going to press that. And I'm not quite sure why this one is giving a hiccup right here. But you can press Control S, or you can just press play again and then press yes. It's just taking a second to upload. So now that we see that there, I'm going to close that folder up so you can see a little bit better. Now, this is the pause that I was saying, and I'm going to go over some of these little changes real fast so you know some of the things you can do within this. So I'm going to take it from the top and then work my way down. So I've had people before who wanted more like intense, like shadows and highlights and stuff. So I made this folder, and I'm going to turn the visibility on so you can see. As you see, it makes it just it pops a little bit more. It makes the shadows a little bit more intense, makes the highlights a little bit more intense. I try not to go super crazy with it. But if you want to edit these, you totally can, because they're filters. So as you see, they're orange tabs. So this is something that you can mess with and you can change. You do that by double clicking on its icon. So this one is a brightness contrast filter, and then I've got a vibrance filter on here as well. So if you double click on that, it's going to open up the brightness contrast panel. And one thing to keep in mind if you are editing these is it's going to affect everything, both mockups. So I'll drag and drop and let you see background, the tumblers, the designs, absolutely everything is affected. So keep that in mind when you are tweaking those. So it's the same thing with vibrance. You just double click the icon and it'll pop up that panel. So I'm going to go ahead and hide that for now. Now the next thing, we've got straws and lids. I've got silver metal straws in here, and I've also got plastic straws. If you guys are interested in any other straws, let me know. I know I personally sell different colored metal straws, but I don't know if that's something anyone else would be interested in. But if you are, and I get enough interest in it, then it's a feature that I can add into the mockups. It's not a big deal. So as you see, I've got some other orange tab layers in here, and these are going to be for lid colors. So if you want to have lid colors on these, I've also got colors for handles, and I'll get to that in a minute. You see, just like up here in the extra highlights and shadow, we were messing with filters. So you double click on this palette right here, and it's going to open up your hue saturation panel. Now with this, you just drag to whatever color that you want it to be, and then you can mess with the saturation too, make it brighter or more dull, whatever. You can make it lighter or darker, whatever you need to match the design that you're working on. So you just you click on that eyeball right by lid colors, and that'll hide the color. Oh, one other thing with this. I know when I first started using like mock-ups that had color changing features, or other things that had color changing features, I would click on it and be like, oh, I'm ready to go. Let's do the color change. But this box wouldn't be checked. And if that box is not checked, the colors will not show up. So if you have an issue where you're like, why isn't the color working? Make sure that this box is checked, and make sure that this eyeball on lid colors is checked. Because if either of those aren't checked, you will not see the colors. So other than that, let's see, we've got the cup shadows and highlights. You can click on any of these and make changes to it. So up here, you've got blending options. Right here, these are blending modes, but I do not recommend messing with the blending modes. Some blending modes can really affect the colors on your design, and it won't look very, very pretty. So I would leave those where they are, but you can totally mess with the opacity and the fill. I know, as I said earlier, I've been contacted by people before who thought that my shadows were too light. That's just how I like mine. But I can show you really fast how you can make them darker if you'd like darker shadows. So if you go up here to opacity, you click that arrow, and this little slider bar will pop up, and you can just drag this all the way to the end. And as you see, it really didn't change that much. But if you press Control-J, it will duplicate that layer, and you can keep duplicating it and make it darker and darker and darker. And I bet that will change as like with each design, because some designs it shows up really dark, and other designs where it shows up really light. Like this design in particular, it looks like there are no shadows on the sides, but I know they're there. Because I've seen it in other designs that I have. So keep that in mind when you are working with these, and know that you can just duplicate these to help make that effect stand out more. I think this is at 68, so let's change that back really fast. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is the handles. And it's just like how the lids were. I have these set up separately, so you've got to do both the right handle and the left handle. Just click on that to make it visible, and you'll see both of them. And you just double click on that, and it'll open up your panel. Now, if you go up here to your straws and lids and you click on this one, let's say, I'm going to turn that on so you can see. Let's say we make it blue. If you want the colors on your handles to be the exact same color, and you don't want to have to drag and drop all the time, you can just look at the numbers. So 202, 70, and -35. You come over here and just enter it in, and it'll change it right to that color. So that's a quick way to make sure you're keeping all the colors the same. If I can get out of here. Let's see. I just want to fix it really fast. Okay. So I'm going to hide those colors so you guys have a blank slate. And then you've got your bottom shadows here, and this works just like up above, but I gave you guys like a whole lot of room to make these much darker if you needed to. So as you see, you can make it a lot darker. And you can also do that duplicating trick I showed you before. You can also, now these are, all three of these are combined on one layer, so you can't do them individually, but you can move these up, down, wherever, however you need. That's another thing people have talked about before, is wanting to be able to move them. So I at least have it set up like that. If y'all are interested in them being separated, I can make them separate. It's not that big of a deal. But I didn't think that y'all would want them separate, but I'm always open to that feedback. So if that's something y'all want, let me know. Now down here in the backgrounds, I give y'all like, I think 8 or 9 backgrounds to work with. I try to give y'all a nice varied selection. If y'all want other backgrounds, let me know, and I'll work on some new ones. But then with this white shimmer, I've attached a color change feature with this. Just like with that other stuff, you can just drag and drop wherever to make it lighter or darker, whatever. But that gives you a little bit more flexibility with background options as well. Now, if you go down to your second mock-up, you've really got the same options. You know, mess with the colors of the lid. You can change between metal and plastic straws. You can still change the handles. You've got your bottom shadow, but your backgrounds are going to be a little different. So because this is a flat lay, I gave you 4 different backgrounds to work with, and with the color change feature on here, it's going to apply to all 4 of these. Now, it shows up really well in the marble. One change that you can do, I told you before, I would not mess with these blending mode right here, but on these hue saturation filters, you can go up here and change it to color. And as you see, it looks so much different than if it was just on normal. So these are actually kind of fun to play with. if you want a different look for your background. And it's a great way to get you a little bit more comfortable with the program as well. So I would recommend you playing with these to see if there is like a blending mode or whatever that you want to use with these backgrounds, because you can get some really cool stuff with that. But yeah, I think that's really everything that you can do within this mock-up. So now let's go back to the first mock-up, and we'll go back to our action. And if you hit save, if you select that layer and press play, I'll go over here really fast. It's going to pull up as mockup 1, and then you just hit save, and then it'll save as mockup 2, save, and there you go. So yes, that is how you use this in Photoshop, and I believe I've gone over everything. So if you guys have any questions on how to use this in Photoshop, or if you have any problems with anything, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm always happy to help. So if you're gonna see how to use this in Photopea, I will see you in just a minute. Okay, welcome back, guys. So in this portion, we're gonna go over how to use this in Photopea. Now, Photopea is a free web-based software. It's kind of like how you use Canva in a web browser. By going to canva.com, you're going to go to photopea.com, and you can use it on a PC, an iPad, even a phone. As long as it has an internet browser, you can use it. So once you're here, you're going to go to open from computer and just open up the file that you need. And now, as I said before, so much of this is this same exact thing as in Photoshop. So I'm not going to go over how to do everything. I'm just going to go over like this very small little change, and it's with the smart objects. Now, because of this change with the smart objects, it makes the action not work. Now, I have a theory that I have not tested yet. If I make the action within Photopea, I wonder if it'll work right. But I haven't had the time to go back and make action files within here yet. But keep an eye out on your folders, because I do make big feature updates. Like, this has been out for a couple months already, and I'm releasing this version, which is got a ton of updates in it. So make sure you're checking, because you never know when I will have an update, and I always date my files so you'll know if it's the most recent version or not. But you might find a new action file in your action folder at some point, so keep your eyes peeled. So let's go ahead and jump in and mess with this now. And just like in Photoshop, you want to find those red tab layers, and you want to double click on the thumbnail. Because we went over all of this in Photoshop, I'm not going to do all of these. I'm just going to mess with one of them. And I'm going to choose the bottom one to mess with, because it's going to show a little bit more of the quirks that you're going to have to deal with. So let's double click on that. And we are going to go to File. And instead of going to Open like we would do in another program, we're going to do Open in Place. And let's navigate to the file that you want. We want the bottom file. And as you see, it looks super tiny compared to how it did in Photoshop. So one weird thing with Photopea as opposed to Photoshop is if you upload in Photoshop and it's a PNG file, and let's say you've got like you've got your canvas file here, right? This blank space that is left over on your canvas is ignored by Photoshop. It's only going to pay attention to the design. But in Photopea, it pays attention to that blank space. So when I make my 40-ounce designs, I have things set up with smart objects and a template to help quickly make my files. And my top, bottom, middle are all in this same canvas. So I have this like extra blank space. I don't know how you guys save yours, if y'all have a bunch of blank space or not, but I will be doing a video sometime soon with like how I do my 40-ounce designs, and I'm going to give my template away for free in the description of that video. So if you're interested in that, feel free to come watch it and grab the free file. You're more than welcome to it. But this is a slight little snafu if you mess with that and you use Photopea. So how we're going to fix this is, if you go up here, you've got your proportions up here. And as you see, it says 66.96. So we're going to take this and we're going to press 100 and tab. And because that link was selected, that means it's going to do it to both the height and the width of the design. But as we had a problem with in Photoshop, you still see some of the white background. So you need to drag and drop. And again, oh gosh. Make sure that you were like holding shift when you go up, so it only does the top. This is like the most annoying part with this. I love Photopea, but I hate that they do this with the PNGs. It's taking me forever. Okay, so we're just gonna go with that. Now, once you have it sized how you need it, you can save this by pressing Control S, and that's probably the quickest way. But you can go up here to File, and instead of just hitting like a save, you've got Save Smart Object, Save as PSD, or Save More. And I get messages about this a lot, so that's why I'm specifically making sure to include this in here for you guys. So you want to make sure you hit Save Smart Object, and this is going to update the smart object for you. So if you go back, there it is. So that's really the only change that's in here. If you use Photopea, you can't use the actions, and then you might have an issue with the resizing, but then you've got to make sure that you're doing open in place and then doing Save Smart Object. Those are the only changes. Other than that, it's exactly the same as Photoshop. But if you guys have any questions about Photopea, Photoshop, the mockup, anything about this stuff, just feel free to message me. You can comment below on the YouTube video, send me a message on my Etsy shop. I'm always happy to help. And like I said, keep your eyes peeled, because you might see some new action files. And yeah, but I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope y'all enjoy making your mockups with these. So have a great day.